Something slightly different for this video. I'm going to talk you through some of the pre-grouping rolling stock and engines that I've made over the years for Peelish and Branstein. Yeah, so in this video we're going to be talking about pre-grouping engines and rolling stock. So pre-grouping in any gauge isn't typically well covered by the major manufacturers, and in N gauge it's practically non-existent. Although I did notice recently that Rapido trains have got a couple of wagons coming out, but yeah, that's it. There isn't a lot out there. So for my Peelish layout, which is set in the pre-grouping era, it's effectively meant that I had to sort of make my own rolling stock and do a bit of kit bashing of engines to get stock for the layout.
So I'm going to start with the first engine that I made, my Furnace Railway G5. There is a separate video on this that goes into more of the steps that it took to make it, which I'll link in the top there, but I'll just summarise it here. So this started life as a Grain Farish general purpose tank in Southern livery. That was part of the collection I had when I was a kid. As I don't run that region now, I didn't really have a use for it, and I was sort of wondering what I could do with it. So this is a fairly easy kit bash. I did remodel the dome and the safety valves, and add some additional pipe work around the smoke box, and then just painted it in Furnace Railway India Red. It's not the smoothest runner. It was well loved when I was a kid, but having spent 20 years in a cardboard box in the loft, it's a bit of a miracle that it's running at all. But yeah, I like it. And then, so to give the G5 something to pull, I knocked up these coaches in Furnace Railway blue and white. These started life as Grain Farish shredded wheat coaches, which you can pick up for eBay for not a lot. These are given a spray of primer and then hand painted using precision paints, Furnace Railway blue and white. And then I added some glazing, just using some clay plastic sheeting. If I'm honest, they don't pass the close-up test by a long way, but from sort of typical 1 meter viewing distance, they look alright, and when passing on the track, I don't think you really notice the lack of straight lines. They're also oversized compared to the actual coaching stock of the era, but so is the G5 that's pulling them, so I think they work quite well together. This is probably my favorite pre-grouping wagon that I've made so far. It's a 3D print of a rectangular tank wagon. It's designed by Mordrin's Models I got from Shapeways. I've always liked the old Grain Farish rectangular tank wagons for some reason, but I never had one. I guess they look a bit different or a bit unusual. And so when I found this kit on Shapeways, I thought I've got to have that. The 3D print itself sits on a 9-foot Pico wagon chassis that I've just painted in similar colours to this real-world example, so a nice sort of reddy colour. The other modification, the one modification I made to it was taking off the Pico couplings and fitting NEM pockets, so it would then take a Dapol magnetic coupling. As on the Peelish layout, which this runs, I try and use hands-free uncoupling. Being a tank wagon, back in the day. These were used sometimes for collecting tar from gasworks, and on Peelish I've got a gasworks, so it seems like a useful place to, or a good place to run it.
Another Shapeways purchase that I made was this Furnace Railway rail motor, which is from Recreation 21. Another one of my favourites. So the rail motor sort of comes as a 3D print, and all it requires is a chassis fitting to it. And for that, I used a sort of cannibalised Greenfarish Suburban coach, which required a bit of filing at the sides to fit neatly. I think it was a little bit too wide. But yeah, after a little bit of filing and a tiny bit of cutting, it did fit quite well. For this, I had also added some lighting, which was from Train Tech, which uses like a small lithium battery and is motion sensitive. So when the coach starts moving, then the lights come on. This is with other coaches that you saw earlier. It was hand painted, but having the 3D paneling makes it a lot easier to give it a decent look because you've got the panels inset, so it's a lot easier to do the painting. Also added a bit of detail to the front, so I did some vacuum pipes and a loco lamp. And also tried to mock up a bit of a representation of the actual drive mechanism using some bits of plasticard around the front of the coach chassis. This doesn't actually move because I'm not that skilled with my kit building, but it doesn't look too bad in photos. As for the trailer, this sits on a Kato 11109 motorized chassis. So unlike the prototype, the trailer actually provides the power rather than the actual rail motor. I had to take the plastics around and the weights off the actual Kato chassis so it would fit in, but I then did add some additional weight because it did then struggle with the traction, having taken the weight off, using a bit of lead tape. Another bit of rolling stock that I made was this Furnace Railway brake van, which is a little bit unusual in that it's only got a door at one end. So this is pretty much scratch built. So the only bit that comes pre-made is the chassis, which is a Pico. I can't remember if it's a 9-foot or a 10-foot wheelbase chassis. The sides themselves, they're made from leftover wooden paneling that I had. I think it was from Slater's maybe. Onto which I then glued strips of plastic art to give the kind of framed effect that you got on the side. The back and ends, they're just made from layers of plasticard with a little bit of glazing behind it. I've added some handrails. They're just little bits of brass wire of different thicknesses. And then I've added some more detailing. So I've added a guard, which you can see in this photo, a lamp. The roof was a bit of a faff. I think in the end I used rolled card, but yeah, it was quite difficult to get that just the right size and orientation to fit the roof. And then, as with the some of the other rolling stock I talked about, I fitted NEM pockets to this so that it can be used with the Dapol magnetic uncoupling system. And so I hope you've enjoyed this slightly different video on some of the engines and rolling stock that I've bashed over the years. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, and I'll see you all next time.